Wake up, goddammit. Welcome to MarketCast with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How was your week?
Really good. Just UNH again. It didn't have the crazy 10% move off earnings, but it sort of did what I thought it would. So had a good trade there. A lot of been fade. A couple tech stocks took off a little farther than I thought, but Friday actually went about how I thought it would. So got caught some trades there. And
Yeah,
you don't need much with options. I mean, you're catching a piece of the move. It's a bad idea to try to catch the whole move on any of that stuff. So it all resets.
you got to trade shares like options right now.
Yeah.
um, the beginning of the week was really good, and then it kind of caught me off guard because I said it maybe last week or the week before that I'm just like a little behind. The thesis is there, but I'm just like a week off, and definitely the same thing this week. Um, Wednesday I didn't trade at all, and Thursday I caught that VS, which ended up being the best trade of the week for me. Really interesting to see bio pennies pump, some small pennies pump with range. Tup coming back. I didn't get any of that. I hope you got in on that. So that was a fire call.
Yeah, I did. I did.
I was wrong there, but kind of seeing that cycle again when pennies start to get active. Usually a leading indicator for me. Um, Not in a direction of any way, but just that we're going to get some activity in the market. So it was good to see that going against the grain, kind of how I seen last week in general.
Well, and I'll tell you with the war news and the gap down, in futures on Sunday, that piece of advice that we talk about, don't chase puts. If you just do that, you all of a sudden like dramatically increased your chances of winning trades. I mean, especially the option side. If you're just like, okay, it gaps down, I'm just gonna wait. Doesn't mean you just pile into calls or whatever, but you just let the day take shape, and it's gonna probably move up and then retest some of those lows either that day or the next day or whatever. And that was pretty much it. So I think one of the things that's strong about our room is that we have so many consistent stocks and reliable levels that you do get that big gap down and it's like, oh, hey, look at where coin is, or look at where oxy is, or whatever. And you have something you can trade that isn't just you know everybody in a frenzy trying to catch up to what they see as some big disaster that's going to happen. Those levels are strong. It takes something to break it down more than just the perception of the weekend news. So that keeping people safe, I think, is really paramount right now because you can see a lot of the Twitter people struggling, and they always tell on themselves when it's happening, even if they don't say it directly.
Yeah, man, they moved out of Florida and Texas. They back home already. How much farther they got to go? I mean, we turning internet
Yeah,
off next. I mean,
right.
Jesus, the mass migration of 20-year-olds furus out of the
Yeah,
fucking promised land. Golly.
right.
Um, yeah, no, I think like that's why I always like stress conditions and the overall like sediment of the market is because I mean right now the best setup to me, I mean I usually got it figured out. It is those 5 out of 10. The 5 out of 10 people know what the stock is. You don't want the 10 out of 10s right now. They're overextended. Um, but that
Yeah,
isn't an uptrend because it is going to pull back every day, and that secondary move offers you an entry and an overall uptrend in the stock. As long as you have the professors, I say he stole it from me, but I'll let him have it. You play to the line. You don't play through the line. So
yeah,
as long as you have that setup, like I think those are the best right now. But it's going to be a repeat. You're going to be Pele and Invex. I mean, you look at that chart; it hasn't moved in 3 months. I mean, there's been some movement, but he's making 200 or 300 bucks off that thing every day or every week. And that's the setups you kind of need to look for in this environment is just the successful zone that's tradable.
yeah.
And then once you find that zone, you got to find is a trade that you can make, especially on the option side, profitable. On the share side, it's real easy. You know, give me 30 cents that I don't got to put over 10 grand into, and I'm in it. You know, and it's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
yeah.
It's pretty simple spot over here. For you guys, there's a lot more. Like, will the contract even move to profitability and stuff like that? So um, that's a whole nother can of worms. Like the people that don't have time, like how are you good at options if you don't have? I have a lot of time, right? Like I still can't figure it out. You use your time well and got a pretty good handle on it. So if you got like no time, how are you figuring out what I just said on the fly or preemptively,
Um,
right?
yeah, I mean, well, here's here's an example. We talk about set it and forget it, and I'll give one specific stock example. AVGO is not set it and forget it. That thing on Thursday, it goes up to the 880 line, totally busts through that, goes all the way over 915. Friday, it closed at 883, and it was at 930 at open. So like, what you're not swinging that. I mean, because even if you swing it and you're successful, you missed out on so much of that that move. So that's just like that's not the one to trade if you're going to buy an option and go off to a meeting. And I say that because we had a guy who was doing that in our room, and he'd get mad, and I'm like, well, it did what I said it was going to do, but you just kept the thing, through a 20-point move in a huge stock. That just doesn't. That's not how you do. That's not how you do options. So one theme for us, we'll talk about in the next session. We are getting a few more of those kind of set it and forget it, just because of the way sectors are looking. So I kind of like that. I like that balance. I think for any trader in here, you just have to find number one what works with your schedule, profit goals, and what you want trading to be for you, and all that. I mean that comes later, because you have to find something that works with your time. And we have a lot of professionals in here, and or students or whoever. You have to start there, because if you don't have the time for it, you're not gonna make it. And that's why you just find something where you need less time, and we got plenty of those too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I guess, come from the environment of large percent winners, and that's what they're looking for to just kind of like take care of some financial need overnight. Um, but
Yeah,
those people, it's like never going to be enough in general. I think that's your main problem. Um, it's one thing we pound the table on. It's just like we're a repeatable process. So you just take the profit and then we'll do it again. And watching the people that like trust that, like if you're going to trust one thing we say, trust that. Just take the 20 or $200, whatever it is, depending on your sizing. We'll be able to do it again.
yeah,
And then being able to, what was it, fast this week? Um, I mean, I watched that for a little
yeah.
bit on the contract side just because I was on the share side. And I was like, huh, that was pretty good. You know, it went like 200%. And then secondary came in and was like, no, it went like seven or 800, you know, because he watched the full move. But I'm so
Yeah,
ingrained to like, oh, it worked next. You know, I don't care how far it goes. I
right.
care that it works. I care. It's like it's like if we were walking across water and there's a stone there. I don't want that stone to be a foot above the water. I just don't want to get wet. That's all I want. I don't want it to slip off and fall
Uh,
out below me.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's what we
here's
excel at, P. That's really what we excel at is the repeatability.
well, and this is why, like, a lot of people on Twitter, I just think they're just full of shit, to be honest, with what they're buying. Because like you look at how an option contract moves. So I buy something for 200, I sell it for 350 or 500 if I get a good move on it, and then that's fine. And then the trade's over. That same contract dips back to like 250 or 225, explodes to $1,000. Unless you're trading it the second time, who the hell's holding it all the way through that? Who watches a contract double and then go all the way back to their entry, and then go all and then just explode for 1,000%? That's not smart. Like, because you're going to lose more than you're going to win doing that. So yes, you can stay on it. Yes, you can retrade it, which has its own kind of risks. You can roll it. You can do all this stuff. but the way that people claim that that one alert, that one buy, did this crazy thing. No, I mean that's ridiculous. That's why I only talk about percentages or testimonials. Like I actually bought this thing and I actually sold it. And then for other people, that's what I want to hear about you doing. Where'd you get in? Where'd you get out? Because you have to resist that greed and temptation because of the way these options move. If you keep trying to catch the full move and you keep sizing up, well, you're gonna be starting another small account challenge every week, every month. So consistency is built on, you know, I'm not. I mean, I just call myself a singles hitter. Maybe I get some doubles in there and home runs here and there. But I mean, really, it is just those smaller, consistent base hits. You stack them up, and I'm still a person who's I've worked my whole life. $200, 300, 400, 500 in a day. I'm cool with that. I mean, that's more than I made an hour anything I've ever done in my life. So I feel really, just blessed to be doing this, and just want to keep building on that. Not looking for Lambos or the Rolex or whatever. I like that consistently making money every day. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah, you asked who does that, and I kind of stuck on that early on. But I mean, that's a simple answer for me, or why that mentality comes because things happen for a reason, right? And
Yeah,
if there's a consistency, it's probably a consistent problem. And the ones that, and I'll even go at people in our room right here because this probably applies to you, something you need to change, but you're not trying to profit off of it, so it's not as devious. But the people that sit there and know it went 1,400% or whatever is because they ran out of funds to trade for the day and they ain't got shit else to do but watch what they could have had. They're probably taking money
yeah,
out of that
yeah.
account to pay bills. Just is what it is. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
mean that's what they have to do that. So they want the most out of that fruit every time. That's who you're taking advice from. Like you're
Yeah,
taking someone that needs the money to live. Um, that's that's a real hard sell when they're supposed to be good with money, right? Like I'm
yeah, yeah,
just in general. I mean, I don't look at it because I can go trade another thing, but that's because I have the way my account's set up and the way my sizing is set up. Um, I don't know. It's just and I'm assuming you're the same way. I know when you're done, you just turn it off. Um,
yeah. When I'm done, I mean, I'm still. I get the difference with me is I'm kind of engaged in the whole research flow aspect. If I were just trading and I wasn't making producing any kind of content or notes or whatever, yeah, I would just completely turn the screens off. And I think that it's better in some ways to do that when you have a big win, especially for people. Don't don't feel like you've got to let it ride gambler mentality. That's that doesn't usually work well in the option world.
yeah, no. I mean, and I'm assuming you're not. You're if you hit or miss on UNH. If you hit or miss on that
Yeah.
today, it's not cold pizza out of the fridge if you miss, or we're going, to eat a fine steak if we win. I mean, and
Oh
that's a
well, yeah. That's
whole
why
nother
I
problem in
had that
itself.
conversation when like someone noticed that I'm doing like 2 3 contracts on these shorter expiration things, even though the win rate on the notes is really good. But I mean that's why I don't. It just changes your psychology to size up to a point where it affects you, and I don't want to trade like that. That's not how I want this to go. So the you buy three, sell a couple at 30%, and then I see a nice read that I think is gonna go higher, and then you let that one go higher. So the runners have to actually be running. That's another thing we say. You don't run something into the ground.
No.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't want to trade in a way that can detract from lifestyle. Too many responsibilities to be messing with that.
Yeah, bro, if I don't hit this Monday, we're not golfing Thursday. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
uh, no, it's just I don't. I try to stay away from it, but I've been reading a little bit over there. I don't know how these guys are getting killed. Besides, they're hard headed. I mean, you just gotta do a little homework right now, and there's plenty of stuff there. Not be greedy, and there's plenty of stuff to trade currently, in my opinion, especially on the option
Yeah.
side. I hate saying this, I really do, but I have to be honest. But I think the option side probably better right now. Just really is. There's more action over there. Um, and
Yeah,
there's enough
no, it's
range there's enough range and stuff too, like it's pretty liquid, so the range that you get on charts that you would normally not get with a lot of buyers around, um, yeah, I do think that's better. So I don't understand how those guys are getting killed, except for they're trying to trade the, I don't want to say no names, but there's a lot of people out there trying to trade the same setups every day over and over, and I think they just keep running into a wall in that regard.
well, yeah. I mentioned the people who are late, like, and SMCI was a good example. I've been on that for a while, bullish since 270, kind of trading it up, and then it got that huge explosive move to like 315, 316, and then that's when the Twitter people came out. Oh, it's the wave two breakout, whatever. Well, the thing closed at 285, so this is what's happening. It's give these big moves happen, and then it gives it back, and from there it's not automatic that we're going to trade it all the way back up. It's kind of at a decision point again, but they're just so late. They just wait for a stock to move and try to chase it, or we gap down pre-market, they try to chase it that direction. So they're just not putting the work in, or they don't know how to put the work in, and those are the two things happening. And the only people that bother me who are like that are the people who try to act like they're teaching somebody something.
Oh yeah.
I get a little salty on Twitter with those accounts, and some of them are big because they're good at social media. So, but they're just blowing through other people's money with that.
Yeah, no, I can see how that definitely rub you the wrong way, just
Yeah.
because of as a professional in that regard.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Perfect. Um, let's talk a little bit about, I guess I guess we have to say geopolitical stuff at this point in time, because there's just so much going on. My conspiracy theory, yes, always says, "Oh, it's just a distraction from the bigger picture." Um, but this new incident kind of seems real, and I'm a little worried. I'll probably be more worried next week, but I'm a little worried we haven't got a speaker, and this conflict kind of seems like it's gonna affect the market a little bit. Um, Winners and losers, of course.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think so. The very real prospect of, well, Syria getting brought into it isn't as big of a deal as if it were Iran that got
Sure,
brought into it.
sure.
But their connection, and you got your typical war hawk kind of voices in Congress, talking about that. So, like, that kind of escalation, the instability, potential for some of this to expand into pockets in Europe, uh, U.S. a little less likely, but the whole the fear of that, right? I mean, that is a very real thing. Um, there's actual impacts this, of course, could have on oil. We saw the way gold and silver were moving. So there's a lot of volatility there. You have some massive hedging going on in VIX and some other places. So there's a lot of preparation for that kind of volatility. I think as a market mechanic, sustained selling is going to have to be not a reaction to news, but I mean, everyone overuses that phrase, but that kind of regime change where, like, that's the direction that dominates. Um, that would be significant, and I don't know that I quite see that yet, but we're a lot closer to that than we were a couple weeks ago. I'll say that.
Yeah, it just feels like, I mean, I'm thesis based still, so this September to January dip, but there is a lot coming to a point. It feels like in the next. let's say 3 weeks, or that needs to come to a head in the next 3 weeks. Then you throw in earnings with that as well. Um,
Yeah.
it's set up for a pretty darn big move, which we kind of talked about last week. Like we're probably going to check down and at least test it, and we didn't. But I just think we're a week behind. I really just think we're so accustomed to moving at one speed, and we're just not going to move at that. I mean, I'm talking since the like pre-COVID market. Like it was just a fast-paced market that even speeded it up even more. Everyone came into the market. You know, how many people, raise your hands, class, 2020, 21 traders or newer? You know, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of those. So like it just the market got moving so fast all the time, and I think we're getting back to where it kind of was before. And we're just conditioned to doing our process in a market that was moving really fast. Um, but I think too much is coming to a head, and we have to be affected. Um, one event on our soil, though, I think kills the market. You kind of just touched base on that. Not that it's likely, but one event on our soil probably um, hurts the market, and then the longer we don't have leadership, because we really can't do anything outside of presidential authority, in my
Uh,
understanding, until
yeah,
that happens.
there's a attempt to try to expand the powers of the temporary guy. I don't know if that will work or not. I mean, that's just another example kicking the can down the road,
Yeah.
which is what the dominant method of our beloved Congress on both sides, for years now. But I'm with you. The big obstacles to getting a new speaker. There's no question about it. The different, the factions within that party, in a party that's actually the opposite. Just in recent decades. I mean, they Republicans have had a much better done a much better job with staying kind of unified. Once elected, but that's definitely changing too.
Yeah, it's really weird how that goes because you put an R next to your name or a D next to your name, but you really have there's a subset of things next to your name that who you really line up with, and they don't
Yeah,
show those on in SNBC and Fox News and CSNBC and CNN. They don't show that stuff, but they all line up with a different one, and they're definitely separated. Which means that I mean, for us, I think that's great, right? Like in a normal
yeah,
sense, that would be great. But when you're at a point where you need to make some pretty good or pretty big decisions, um, it's almost like the world is the toddlers and we're the preschool teacher, right? And that's kind of the feel you're getting right now. Is like the teacher can't control the classroom. Um, that's my look of it. And then all the senators and congressmen, they're also teachers too, and they're just like complaining what the teacher should do. Um, like this is how you should solve the problem. And
yeah. So
there's not one good answer. Um, what
right,
what
no,
what
definitely.
what I don't I haven't looked much into it, but from like Clinton on Clinton and Clinton was probably the worst with the executive orders, right? That's where that kind of started because those used to be few and far between, and then Clinton like did more than any president, all the presidents combined in his administration. Then the executive order
Yeah,
kind of became the standard. Biden's not using executive orders for like Ukraine and stuff,
right.
and the student
Hmm.
loans. Um, that in my opinion is what's really dangerous right now because you're taking the power away from them. Like you don't need to have them in line. They can argue because Biden can do what he wants.
Well, yeah, and if you get a president from either party stacks up a bunch of executive orders, you can get pretty extreme changes to a lot of the way the country functions, and then the next party comes in, he just undoes them all.
Yes.
And so the pendulum keeps making these more radical swings where and it's kind of my belief that the country was structured in such a way to where change would be incremental, and that takes that away when you have the executive branch with this kind of oversized power that they can exercise. And yeah, a lot of executive orders can get challenged in court. That takes months, years, whatever. So yeah, I do see that as an issue as well.
No, it's
The
interesting
uh,
that
the
you
media
just.
narrative.
Go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, the media narrative too. The one about college campuses and getting radicalized politically and all of that. Particularly in relation to this the Palestinian issue. The the actual like that a lot of that stuff's not really going to amount to anything, but I think is kind of big from a public perception standpoint. I mean, you get some college kids and some student group write some letter, whatever. But that right now, that's like a hot news item, and I think just really stirs up a lot of kind of animosity and like political division uh, and all that. You get governors stepping in, and it's a big mess in the higher ed world. I don't know where that fits in terms of what that does to the stock market or anything like that, but that's kind of getting to a level that maybe we haven't seen since I don't know the '60s or something like that, where the idea of college and protesters and all that being seen as a social problem. That's been a big issue too.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I think we are to the point that if like I don't like to put like a limit on it, but if we have an event outside the country, it is 50-50 on if it's going to affect the market more than a few hours or a day, right?
Yeah,
If we have an event in this country, it's almost 95%. Even if it's nothing I mean, I don't want to say anything crazy, but just a pretty big event. Um, yeah,
yeah, and that's honestly
I hate
that's where I
saying
brought
more
up
than 10 people, more than 15 people die. And I hate doing that. But if we have a fucking event here, it's going to probably drag on
I
the
brought up
market a little bit.
the college campuses because I think that is
Oh yeah, yeah.
a place where that kind of thing, um, you know, could happen. And I'm not like predicting terrorism or anything. I just mean just in terms of like unrest, right?
Hmm.
And governors stepping in, and you have National Guard troops show up, and bad things can happen. I mean, that's what's happened before. So, um, but yeah, that's something I think to definitely be mindful of in the coming weeks.
Bro, New York got a big problem if Trump got to go to court and Israel bombed Palestine real bad the night before. That's going to be a hell of a day in that
Right?
city. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just in general. I mean, there's some spots that, I mean, would you go visit New York right now? I mean, come on.
No, no, and I mean, and Trump, and I barely like to even get into him except unless DWAC comes up or whatever. But if you're on that certain side of this issue, dude has the credentials, right? I mean, he's the one who advocated Jerusalem's the capital, and so in terms of the pro-Israeli do whatever they're going to do side of things, he can use that to his advantage, and that's a big chess piece in this whole thing over here.
Yeah. Did you have you've caught the news? I'm assuming in the last week. That's 24/7 live.
Yeah,
24/7 live, man. It's such a contrast to the Afghanistan situation or Ukraine situation.
right.
You just didn't see anything. It's crazy to me. My other thing, total political. Last one I'll throw in here is you say anything about Hollywood, you're racist, anti-Semitic stuff, but man, that not the same when it comes to Israel this week. Um,
Right. Yeah.
very interesting to me. um,
No, for sure. Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, it's weird the people that protect certain people. Um, yeah, let's get back to how this all affects the market because there is a point to that. The ERs this week are coming up, and then these world events I think are a dirty combination. Um, I'm staying away from ERs for the most part. I mean, you've seen my list. We have a couple on there, but I think it's still guidance that's going to move these, not actual. I mean, you're going to need to be somewhere close to your numbers to your because they're all pretty low end. But that guidance is going to be king, and I think we're coming off a little bit of slowing down. So I don't think most companies are going to have
Yeah.
promising guidance because they don't really care about their stock price. Let's be honest, though. They're in it for the 30-year play. they're not in it for the stock price next year. They're really not. So I'm kind
Yeah,
of I'm
outside of
hesitant outside of certain sectors, and I touched on that a little bit with fast. Nuts and bolts are going to be good.
yeah, and healthcare was good.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
UNH. I did do that through earnings. Just just the read was there and the sector look. But like Domino's Pizza was a good example that earnings were mixed. It spiked up almost 4%, and that was when I bought puts. I was like, this is about it. And then it gave it gave the whole move back. Puts went crazy. But I mean that's really like the way to do these. If you're people putting $1,000 into Netflix earnings or Tesla earnings, that's you're just you're just spinning the roulette wheel with worse odds. Um, so yeah, I don't even because it's not even red or it's not just red or black, right?
Yeah,
It'd be like if a third of the spaces were green because it's just going to kill the options both directions. That's what you're doing. And
the wheel had a motor and it doesn't stop spinning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my notes will be kind of the ER aftermath because there will be some good trades there. Your risk is lower. The options premiums just plummet, which is why the trades work so well. So yeah, I'll definitely I'll be looking for that. I think to me, semiconductors are still just a really interesting sector because the past couple earning cycles, the smaller companies have been, warning people about inventory stacking up and demand dropping, with the assumption that, but that's going to get better. Demand's going to come back up, and we're coming into this quarter and next quarter, especially next quarter, where it's kind of like put up or shut up time. Did demand go back up? And so that's where you're going to see some of these kind of take out their COVID lows. You're going to see some, just kind of maintain an uptrend or, kind of reach a sort of equilibrium, which is what I think NVIDIA is going to do. But yeah, that's going to be big. Anyone with like physical tech hardware, um, this is a big earning cycle for them. I think the next two are huge for where we go from here.
Yeah, no, I think I was just going to ask the question about all this stated as a statement instead. I think that's the number one check you have to have right now on if you're going to play ERs, especially on the front side, is the sector. It's the sector. There's some sectors
Yeah.
that are just hopeless right now because of. I'll use a good one because they were off to a great start, but the cruise lines were doing great until they reported that these gas prices are killing us, and that's just not going away.
Yep.
You can't outsell that. Actually, if you sell more, it's a bigger problem because now you have another boat
Right.
you got to fill up. So yeah, like you really got to understand sectors right now, and I think that's if we can spread anything to the world, so they're not just playing stuff. Oh look, Dash has ER. Oh look, Tesla has ER. That look Johnson and Johnson. No, you really need to understand the sector and what is the head and tailwinds of that sector currently.
Yeah, and my number one thing for tech right now, and I like the SaaS stocks a lot, um, is the big question I ask: can Microsoft just replace what this company does,
Yeah,
and easily? Like with something that is existing or something they could build into it. If the answer is yes, stay away. Zoom, for example. If the answer is no, if it's a more like specialized cybersecurity product or something like that, then those are holding up better, and that's going to be Microsoft and Apple to some extent cannibalizing chip making and software, and throw Google in there. That's the biggest thing to me over the next like 1 to 3 years, because we've said it for a long time. This mark coming out of this bear market, it's all about winners and losers. It's about who was able to get lean and then find a new spot where they can grow again. And being able to be like a necessary product despite the dominance of the major tech companies. That's going to be a big story for me for those guys, and that's something I look at in their earnings reports too.
That's just the cycle for them, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to go check the history on that, if you're kind of a new trader and you like the history of the market, go look how many apps were in the market 10, 15 years ago. Like how many startup
Mm-hmm.
companies that were just apps. Like Groupon made it, but they're Yelp made it. Good example. But
Yeah.
they took like a lot of the basic apps, and now they're just basic functions on your phone or on your lap, on your desktop. You know that were companies before, and they just made them very generic. Um, and yeah, you're going to see that same cycle again. That's just what they do. We talked about that with Apple a few weeks ago. They let you prove it. I think it was with Bitcoin and the wallet.
Yeah.
They let you prove it, they perfect it, and then they just take it over. They just say, "Here, we're going to include it with you with our package deal." And
Yep.
yeah, I think you're totally onto something there, because that's how those big guys get bigger. They eat little fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and if they eat you and they buy you, then and you're in that stock, that's good. If they just take your idea and leave you out in the cold, then you head to OTC at that point. So,
exactly.
as a trader investor, that trajectory is always something you want to be aware of.
Yeah, the risk reward ratio should definitely be a checkbox, and some of those definitely are zeros. Um,
Yeah.
let's get into SPY a little bit. Kind of already
Yep.
told on ourselves. We were high in last week. We just didn't even get going in that direction um, until later in the week, and then it sold off quickly. Am I right on this? Yeah, 30. Is that right? Yeah. So 37's the top. Or excuse me, I had that wrong. We had the bottom. We had it going down, and it went the other way. We had 32p with a 37, and we had like 17 and 18 breaking 20, and we never got below 27. So we were probably
Yeah.
$8 to $10 off with the proper range, but it was back up. 430 proven to be a pretty good pivot. Um, I heard that line was on someone's chart. I just think
Yeah.
I just really think we can't think slow enough right now. Like
Yeah.
the 3 day 3 week rule thing we talked about, we just can't apply that right now. So the thesis for me is kind of still the same. I don't know how you see it, but this market just had to wait last. It was waiting at the bus stop for this ER. It's kind of how I feel. I'm still that we got to break down below 420. It just has to happen. Um,
Yeah. And on the flow side of things, puts still dominate the open interest. Top 15 contracts are all puts. So then it's about, kind of who's positioned where. So the one that stands out to me right now is November 17th, 400p. Um, do I think we break down that far? I'm not ready to go there yet, but the way that, and then December, same strike, 400p. The way that those are positioned on the ask side, I think that those contracts are going to go up in value, and so you can essentially, where my comfort zone now for a downside would be to sort of split the difference between those and look at like that 415 area. But that's we go week by week, so I don't think we're going to get there
this week, yeah.
this week. Yeah, but I think we make some progress there.
If
So
let me
I'm gonna,
can I ask a question before we roll?
yeah,
So Tesla, like let's say Tesla and PG, Procter Gamble, just get like fucking taxed. Does that push us down there
yeah.
low enough here? Like if a couple big names get taxed, does that push us? Is that enough in SPY to get that downward push, or
The
you need bigger names?
so the market could shrug off Procter and Gamble,
Okay.
and kind of like it did with a lot of the staples lately. But yeah, and Tesla isn't the big market mover that it used to
Used to
be
be,
for
yeah.
a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it's Nvidia,
Um,
Apple, and Microsoft.
but but Netflix could.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I think Netflix would be the one, just for the perception of the big tech that's rallied all year. That would be the biggest total market mover to me,
Well, that's going to be your
even
light.
though
That's going
those
to be your
percentages don't line
lighthouse.
up.
That's going to be your lighthouse this week, though,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I think.
I wouldn't be buying spy puts if Netflix does well, unless you're playing
Yeah,
a
I'm with you on
15,
that.
15 minute trade, right? Like unless you do the day trade thing,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be piling in. Yeah.
Well, and real quick, like, so if you got a bearish thesis, this SPY 400p for December at it's $386. If you're going in light, trying to swing something bearish, that one's not too bad because you given the pricing of it, I would say like if I bought that and I'm like, okay, so if this falls to 290, I lose $100 and I'll just go ahead and get out and rethink this. But if we do start to move down, the way that contract's going to move, you go 50%, 60, 70% pretty quickly on that. And this is the same exact thing I said about October 420, by the way. We're kind of at that same moment. So yeah, like I don't even know, like the zero DTE thing. I don't even touch on that. That can go either way every day. But if your overall thesis is down over the next couple of weeks, that you might step in there, if anything, to hedge something else you're doing.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm still on. I want. This is where you screwed me. I mean, not screwed me up, but you changed my game, and now I second guess myself a little bit because before I would just be like, all right, this is enough. I'll start DCA in over the next month and a half. We'll find that bottom somewhere in there, right? Like that's just the way to roll.
Yeah,
Um, Here now, I'm like, I'm not buying shit until this 411 gets tested, and
yeah,
that's just. I mean, I have my thesis. It fits my thesis. It should happen. So now I'm just a little more patient. But I'm what? God, we're only like 3 weeks in, and I'm already like, hurry up. So, um, um,
yeah,
I, I don't see. I mean, you said 15. I got a 411. I'm with you. It's not this week. Um, I'm kind of gonna go. I'm, I feel like I'm pissing in the wind. So, for this 425, it's my 20 day up here. 425.44 is probably gonna be my bottom. Um, and then on the top, I guess I just got to go with where we've been. And I mean, we ain't breaking the 440. It looks like it doesn't want to do that. So the 439. Since I went 44, I'll go 88. We'll double it.
nice. Yeah, I wish you could see my number I wrote on my post-it before you said anything. But my bottom 425.23.
Nice.
So we're getting right now, we're right there. And yeah, so I had 435.48.
Well, that's tight, P.
Yeah.
So we're saying bottom on $4 more to the upside than you. You're pretty darn tight. Like you're tighter than the Friday open. Interesting. So you're flushing it. Oh,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
you're. I just can kind of tell by your numbers. We're flushing Monday morning, in your opinion.
Yes. And
Yeah.
oil going uppity up, I think.
I
We'll
was,
see.
I was flipping 2 weeks behind, or early on that too.
Yeah.
I'm still. I mean, I said it then. I still think we see 100. I'm running. I said before the end of the year, but that natural gas seemed like those chickens got to come home here real soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's just, it's so funny to me, like when I do get messages, and this is on Twitter too. Not even I'm not critiquing the room here, but like it's the the sector people are waiting. They're just like, is this going to finally die? It's always oil, and I don't understand why that is. Like, is Oxy done? When it goes under 60. like it's going to go back to $20 or something. Nobody asked me that about the bankrupt tech companies or anything, but oil, there's just always this. I don't know what it is. This disbelief that these oil stocks are strong up here and that they're just going to move back up. So,
when that
been the best sector for me personally. But
when we first got together, the oil stuff happened, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, like most people. I was way late with it, but I have a line on all them charts. Usually, just one line. We will not talk about oil breakdown or oil shorting until those lines give away, at minimum. And
yeah,
we're like two
yeah,
years into me putting them lines on the chart, and we're begging for entries off those levels. So if you're unsure or on any of those charts, especially if you're in the room and you need a level to know where the trouble's going to be at, just message old Unc and I'll throw you a number and you can put it on your chart. And I guarantee you'll hear from us when it gets there again. We'll be your alert because like I would love a lot of those prices to come back. Oxy, Maro,
yeah.
all
The
those.
time that I buy is, I see a setup. I'm like, I think we're gonna flush here early, and we're gonna test that line down there. So if I've done this enough where like I kind of see that's gonna happen. You can make money off of that move, but like put leaps or some big sustained breakdown, just not interested. I just I haven't seen that take shape in the flow. It was like when we saw Exxon at $100.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, whales would have to dramatically reposition with hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars of options to take this fully down the other way. And I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, when you start seeing the math, look out.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's huge. I mean, you'd like, oh wait, that's a lot of money, or wait, that's really not. That's only 50K. In the overall world, that's not a big buy. But when you see orders that are 4 to 15 million coming through, you're like, it's probably gonna hold.
yeah.
And it's the
That's
same
right.
thing share side. I mean, I see some stuff go through. I'm like, someone just bought 35,000 shares. Like, oh my goodness, again? They're DCAing with
Yeah,
35,000 shares? What the hell?
right.
Like you kind of I feel okay buying usually there, and that's why I watch tape, but a whole nother ball game. But yeah, definitely follow the money, right? Always follow the money.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, you ready to get to work? Go talk about some oil stocks.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. Let's do it.